What's going on, guys? It is Filmington, and we are back. It is Tuesday. That is when I'm filming this. So a few days after the return from the National, and as you can tell, I've lost my voice a little bit, but I'm going to power through this. I had an amazing time. It was great to meet everybody for the first time or reconnect with some people that I haven't seen in up to 2 years. So it completely lived up to expectations. The show was packed, a lot of positive energy, and in this video, I'm just going to walk through a recap day by day of my experiences. There will be another video that I'll be posting probably later this week where I'll get into some takeaways, some themes, kind of comparing this national to the last one in 2019, how they were different, and maybe what that means for the broader hobby. All right, so Wednesday. Wednesday, I grabbed an Uber at about 6 a.m. I met my friend Amit, runs with Bulls 23 from Instagram, at the airport. And there we did a little exchange. I helped him put some cards in card savers for him. I also gave him a few slabs that I wanted him to submit to PSA. Amit had a vendor pass, so it gave him access to the show much earlier than me. Me having a VIP pass, I wasn't able to get into the show till 3:30, so I wanted him to kind of beat the line and drop that off. I gave him the form, the 3 cards to do the reholder service with, and yeah, that was the plan there. Touchdown in Chicago at around 9 a.m. local time. One of the benefits of having some sort of Marriott status, I was able to check into Aloft at 10:30 in the morning. After that, I met up with some friends for an early lunch at the Gibson's Steakhouse. And Gibson's is actually right across the street from the convention center, so I was able to bring all my cards. I just picked up this Pelican case thing, knockoff, not a real Pelican case. Probably a good thing because it's a little bit lighter. So I was able to put that in my backpack. It fits it says up to 48 cards, but it's really more like 40, I think, slabs, most of which are PSA. So I met up with some friends at Gibson's, Amit, Cardi C, my friend Sean. And we had an early lunch, and we ran into a patron who had a stunning collection. This particular individual, I'll show some footage here. He's got, I guess he just got into cards in March. So just a few months ago, and he just got into baseball in April. He just started buying Ohtani in April after he saw a game where he had a really dominant pitching outing, and he also hit a home run like 470 feet. I think he quoted that it was against the Oakland A's, and it was unlike anything he had seen before, so he decided to buy some huge Ohtani cards. So with him, he had 2 of the 5 Topps Chrome red refractor autos.
Dude, we can't take that much risk.
What are you talking about?
I know, I said it. I probably said it.
You know how much the price is on this?
30?
No, 450,000.
Wait, what?
That's on a 5.
I mean, it's a beautiful.
Oh yeah. A blue PSA 10 sold for 20K.
It's not that rare. I see 2 of them.
And one of his goals for the show was to try to figure out a way to sell those cards. I think he had appointments with Golden and some of the other auction houses. So it was nice to meet him. He also had a lot of other Ohtani cards with him. So then we headed over to the show at around probably 2:30, and we headed upstairs because we had the VIP pass. We were able to go to the VIP lounge. This time it was on the 2nd floor. Not the best time in the VIP lounge. There was like some sort of event they were holding with some giveaways. The food was, I didn't have any because I had already eaten, but a few folks that we had met up with there, Mr. Dub and Big Smooth, they complained that the food was pretty bad and the bottled waters ran out quickly, and it was definitely hot upstairs. I think it was even hotter upstairs than it was on the main floor. The AC wasn't really working that well. So then we entered the show at around 3:30 with all of the other VIP people, and it was just really packed, probably by like 4 o'clock. I remember thinking that the amount of people that were in the show customer wise was probably very similar to a general audience day. So similar to like a Friday, Saturday from 2019, which it was held at the same venue in 2019. So it was kind of easy to compare. So one of the first things I did was I stopped by and I met up with or saw some and said hello to some local dealers that do the shows around here in New England. Dave Glazer, I believe the name of his company is like Fun Time, so you might recognize that name, the branding somewhere. And also Mike Bodash, who does a lot of like the dollar cards. He operates in like the dollar box space. So I said hello to him. Card Collector 2, I noticed his booth right away, and he had a horde of people surrounding his table. So just knowing that it was that busy on Wednesday, I was like, all right, I'll probably not have a chance to say hi to him the whole duration of the show, which is fine. That's fine. It's not somebody that I know, but he seems like a really genuine, nice guy. And I know there's already a lot of people asking for his autographs and for pictures taken with him and everything. So I did my first deal actually pretty quickly. It was a car that was on my radar. I kind of had a target price range for it, and it was at this table. Probably don't quote me on this, but they probably had some of the most high-end cards of the show, maybe one of the nicer booths at the show. And this was LJ's Card Shop. I believe this was the vendor that had picked up a Mahomes card for like $4.3 million. It was in the news. I think my cousin, who's like a 49-year-old school teacher who doesn't collect cards, it showed up on her feed or Google feed on her phone or something. So she had known about it. I saw her over the weekend at the beach. And literally it was probably the card that I picked up was probably one of the cheapest low-end slabs that they had, and I think that gave me leverage. Also, they forgot that they even had it. So, this booth was slammed with people. It was like a pretty large-sized square booth, and they had a security guard and everything, and I had to go to like the opposite end of it just to get somebody's attention. And I said, oh yeah, the Zion Prism Silver is, do you guys have a price on that? And the guy completely forgot that they had it. And he was like, wait, what? We have one of those? What do you mean? Where is it? Over there. Oh, huh? And they had to run comps on it on the spot because they didn't have a price for it. And, he looked at the previous comps and he gave me a price of $2,700. And I asked him, because I only had like $1,800 cash at the time and some PayPal, I asked if they would take a combination of both, and they said that they would. And then I found out that when we were actually performing the transaction, that with PayPal, they could only accept goods and services. So even better, I could use a credit card, pick up some points for the residual balance there. So $2,700. That, based on Card Ladder, is the second lowest sale of the last 12 months. Most sales these days are around like the 3,000 mark, between 3,000 and 3,300. So I was really happy to get in at that price point. I didn't really want to bother with haggling when I knew that price seemed pretty good, and I verified afterwards that, wow, that's pretty cheap. Now, with ultra-modern basketball, it was subject to a couple inflationary bubbles. So if you're to go back 12 months, that brings you to like August when ultra-modern was kind of exploding, and then it kind of reinflated when the season started back up in late December, early January. So the fact that it is the second lowest sale in the last 12 months, it doesn't really tell the full story, so I want to provide that context. But still, I'm happy with it, and I think this is finally a good time to buy Zion. So in walking by, seeing other dealers, they were kind of like whispering to each other like, wow, this show's really busy. This one's going to be a great one for us. So I'm already starting to think like, oh God, like the leverage as a buyer, even as one that's paying fully in cash, like some of the target cards, some of the rare cards at the show might not drop to the levels that I expect just based on that. So on Wednesday, the show formally closes at 8. We had dinner reservations at 7:30, so we had to duck out a little bit early at around 6:45 to make those, and we still ended up being kind of late, 10 minutes late to those reservations. Me, my friend Sean, Cardi C and Amit, we all met up at True Lux, a really nice seafood and steakhouse place, and really close to the convention center too. We showed up, me being one of those that was extremely underdressed, but that's okay. We didn't violate any of the rules on the dress codes. They allowed us to get in. I had the Chilean sea bass. It was phenomenal. Had a really nice cocktail. Got some pretty cool appetizers. And we got out of the steakhouse probably at around 9:30. We had a nice conversation between the four of us there. We were invited to an event hosted by Card Ladder at Shoeless Joe's. And this is where I met Josh from Cardboard Chronicles for the first time, along with Jeremy Lee, boy is he tall, from Sports Cards Live. By the way, check out the collaboration that we did. It was really more an interview on his channel a week and a half ago. I'll post a link in the show notes. And Carvin from Clubhouse was there. Eventually, Nat Turner and Ken Golden just walked right in, so it was cool to, didn't really have a conversation with them, but it was kind of cool to be in the in their presence. And then we left probably around midnight. Got to meet a whole group of new people that I had never spoken with before. And when we got back to the hotel, the Uber dropped us off at Lowe's first, which is where a couple of the guys were staying. And Sasha T was making moves right in the hallway. Just, you know, in the flesh, Sasha T was there. Kind of cool to see him. Seems like a genuine guy, just like Card Collector too. Willing to have conversations with just random folks kind of on the spot. Really cool. And then comes Thursday. So Thursday was a very, very very busy day, action-packed. I skipped breakfast. I got to the show at around 9:30 in the morning. Met up with, or came across, B-Roth 6, Up North Collectors first, along with Great Lakes Breaks Jake. But B-Roth 6 was there with an ankle injury, so he was kind of scooting around, and he told us about his awesome Kobe Topps Chrome Refractor story. He just got basically he bought a lot of cards, and the Kobe 2018 Topps Chrome Refractor, the one where he's featured with LeBron, he submitted it raw and it came back in a PSA 10. So that, whatever his cost basis was, about $1,000, just jumps to 11 grand. So he was on cloud nine. He was happy to share that news. And I think eventually he went to try to shop for a Jackie Robinson, try to do a trade for a Jackie Robinson rookie, 48 Leaf. But I'm not sure if he was able to find one because they didn't really want to trade. They didn't like the idea of trading that and picking up a high-end modern card, I guess. But yeah, so one of the first things I do is walk to the red carpeted area, which is on the back end, or maybe you want to call it like the far right of the convention center, depending on how you're entering into the show. And Slab Stocks booth was there, and right behind that was another booth, and I forget the names of the guys. I want to say like Carry Out Sports Cards. I don't know. They had a huge Steph Curry rookie collection that they had for sale, some Topps and Topps Chrome, I believe. And they had, what caught my eye was a Marco Luciano Gold Shimmer PSA 10. And I saw people inquiring about it, and I kind of got worried. I'm like, all right, I got to like jump on this fast before people, snipe this deal from me. So I waited a little bit. Then all of a sudden, a supporter of mine comes up from behind me. Really nice to meet him. He asked for my opinion on what something he had was worth. And a lot of people in this community and throughout social media know me as the guy that kind of is able to appraise cards that are difficult to appraise. So I gave him some help there. And he felt really bad because I felt that he was like kind of encroaching, and he knew that it was kind of a sensitive moment for me to try to get a good deal. So I felt bad. He walked away. I tried to find him afterwards, but I couldn't find him. And I went and I picked up that Luciano. Got it for $50 under the sticker, so $850 cash. So shimmers aren't really my thing, but once you have it in a PSA 10, that adds a lot of liquidity to that card, where it's easier for me to kind of work with and flip, or even buy and invest in a card like that. And difficult to appraise that card too. There was a Megabox Gold that sold recently for $1,500. I'm not a big fan of the Megaboxes, not a fan of the shimmers, but I thought it was a good buy. And I think that there are some good buying opportunities right now for the non-autographed numbered parallels of first prospects. And I don't think the multipliers have like fully stabilized yet. So they're not really standardized yet. But I do think that the difference between an autographed true gold versus gold shimmer would be more extreme than the non-autograph form, because really what it comes down to is the really high-end, low-numbered, non-autographed stuff in like oranges and golds and reds. That's what I'm talking about. They don't really have the extreme multipliers of the autographs. So what happens is everything's kind of smushed together for the non-autograph. So from a blue to a gold, like it's like 2.4x around that, usually for autograph, but for non-autograph, it's gonna be smaller. And the difference between a regular refractor number to 499 in a blue and non-autograph form, the difference is gonna be smaller. So I thought that was a good buying opportunity, I think. And I'm big on Luciano. I didn't come to just pick up Luciano, but he was one of the guys, one of the prospects that I was targeting for like alpha to get some risk, to seek out some risk. But in order for me to complete that deal, I needed more cash. I probably should have went to the bank earlier. ATMs, Bank of America, they have a max of $1,500 per day. That wasn't going to cut it. So I had to go to the bank, and the closest one, of course, Bank of America. I show up to the branch, get dropped off by the Uber, and there's just a couple dudes that probably came from the show that are yelling at the Uber driver for the way she's driving, and so they weren't in a good mood. And I think I now know why, is because when I actually walked through the doors of the Bank of America branch and my Uber driver had left, they had said that their systems were down. So I could only withdraw the normal amount, the normal max from an ATM, and I couldn't get anything more than that. And I wanted to pick up more cash just to have it for other transactions. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just take an Uber to another branch. I asked them, is this like a branch specific issue? And they had said that, yes, it's only specific to this branch. So a couple other guys show up, they get dropped off from their Uber. And one of the guys is actually local to me, and I've done a trade with him actually recently in the last 2 or 3 months. So we ended up taking an Uber together to another Bank of America branch. As we're about to leave, they're like, oh, well let's make sure first, I'll call them to make sure they don't have the same issue. And then I'm like, oh my God, you could have told me this before our Uber driver showed up. So they called them, and there's no issues. And we end up taking an Uber to the next branch. We end up getting the money that we need withdrawn. And the three of us end up going back to the show. It was a kid and his dad and me. We end up going back to the show. So it was cool to kind of save a little bit of money, I guess, by having somebody to share that Uber with, and also being able to reconnect with somebody that I met at a show. So we go back to the show. I pick up that Luciano. And then shortly after that, I go back to Gibson's, meet up with basically the same group of people that I was with the day previous. Get back to the show. I don't know, maybe it's around 2 o'clock at this point. I was able to find this Aaron Rodgers 2013. So this is the second year of Prism, color match green, PSA 10. I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers buyer or collector or fan, but I do recognize that he's probably a bit undervalued relative to somebody like Tom Brady. Clearly, he doesn't have the accolades, especially with team accomplishments, but statistical accomplishments are there. QBR, some consider that probably an antiquated stat, especially with the way that the rules have changed. But like he's like all time, like first, I think, by a lot. Also, and there's a lot of different QB ratings, and I'm not like a huge football stats guy, I'm more of a baseball guy, but so don't quote me on this. But also like touchdown interception ratio, career, like very, very good. The fact that he's been in the media, they say all publicity is positive, but for his card value, it's probably not so much. He's probably dipped a little bit. So I was able to pick that up. And this is a card even more difficult to appraise than the Luciano Gold Shimmer, because I checked PWCC price history. I couldn't find any sales of that card, even in raw form, I don't think ever. That's just auctions I looked at. And certainly recently there wasn't much. There's some sales of the base Prism in a PSA 10, but this is a Pop 2 card. Greens aren't extremely desirable, but I mean, it's a color match. And I think this is an example. Some cases, like with Jason Tatum with basketball, like the green is clearly very sought after, but for Rogers, it hasn't really seen the jump it deserves yet, I believe, considering how rare it is in raw form, like how many were printed, and in the pop reports as well. So I was basically going to buy that card at sticker price, and I shot the guy. I'm like, will you do 300? He's like, I don't know. I'm like 350, and he agreed on 350. It was pretty quick. I was able to get that done in cash. And yeah, so sometimes with like these like illiquid cards, I find I have a little bit of an advantage. It certainly helps if you're not looking to like quick flip it, because buying a card like that, you have to understand that if you're going to be able to find a new buyer, they might not be very confident in the execution price, knowing that there aren't very many comps. So you'll have to find somebody like you, maybe a Rogers collector, or maybe just sit on the card long enough where more price discovery is available for people, and they're able to feel more confident about buying the card for a certain price. So, you know, with the show, I was looking at like some Wander Francos and Bowman Chrome autos, and the prices just a little bit off. I felt like they haven't really come down enough for me. Now, of course, since the show, his performance has picked up, and the prices probably have as well. Just one of the risks I was willing to take, but you know, maybe they fall again if his performance dips, and if the power doesn't come back up, and in the off season, maybe it's a better time to buy than now for a Wander Franco even. So we'll see about that. The Wi-Fi at the show was also slower than the previous show, I felt, in 2019. Maybe this had to do with the amount of people that were there, especially when Thursday and Friday came around with the general with the GA audience. It was difficult to look up cards that I came across, and this came into play with cards that I wasn't too familiar with, so I didn't understand the comps. I didn't know the comps. I had to kind of verify that on the spot. And one of the things I was going to the show was like, I didn't really want to limit myself too much with my buying list. So maybe I had certain players, but maybe I didn't have like all of their cards or all of their grades really in my head. So there were some like rare Brady rookies, maybe some Luka autos, some cool stuff from the 90s that I would just try to search and would just spin. And I would just be like, all right, let's move on. It's okay. And I just eventually take a picture of the card and probably forget all about it and then move on to something else. Or eventually the show would end or whatever. So on Thursday, I grabbed a drink on the way out with Andy. She blinded me with refractors. Wesker Griff, Stove Sports, was able to have a pretty cool, a good conversation with them. Went back to the hotel before the show closed a little bit early so I could talk to the wife on the phone, FaceTime with the baby, and then take a little bit of a little siesta maybe, or I think I tried to take a little bit of a nap. I don't think that was successful. But then trade night number one, or the first trade night event that I attended, was at 7:30. So I showed up a little bit late. I think this one started at 6:30, and this was Card Collector 2's trade night. So this was one of the, I think this was the first trade night that I've ever done. So I didn't really know what to expect. I just assumed the show, an extension of the show without the dealer booths, even though a lot of those dealers probably showed up to this as well. It was mostly the customers that dominated this, and you still had your tables, your round tables, your rectangular tables. Some people were sitting, some people were walking around. The people that were sitting had like their Apache cases opened up with some cards like lined up, like kind of like a attractive woman at the beach in a two-piece trying to get attention. Kind of similar to that. It's just me, but it was a little bit awkward to start, like, hey, what's going on? Like meeting a girl at the bar, like, they're trying to chat her up, trying to break the ice. Like, hey, do you got anything good there? You want to see what I have? You mind if I sit down here? And you put down the Apache case, and then they don't touch it. You open it up. They're still not going through it. I'm like, do you want me to take these out? Like, who's going to make the first move? It was just kind of funny doing it for the first time. But I showed up there. Neo, formerly Northeast Ohio, good guy. Been talking to him a little bit on Instagram, and we follow each other's channels. And he saved me a seat, which was nice because I showed up well after he did, and they had a really great location in the middle of the place. Flipping Steve was there, another great guy. One of my regrets is probably not asking him like what he had, because I think I made the assumption that because on his channel he talks a lot about like modern football, a little bit of soccer, a little bit of basketball. I just assumed that he wasn't into baseball because most people aren't, to be honest. And but I found out later that he was. And I know he's a vintage guy too. But yeah, great guy there. Ryan from Breakout Cards, I was able to meet him. Young kid, big vlogger. He told me that, like, think about it, guys. We're just like barely halfway through the year. And he's been to 30 different card shows so far this year, including the National. And that includes going out of state to go to a different show twice a month. So check out his channel. He does a lot of good stuff there. And he's not just a clout, like some of these like younger vloggers or clout chasers. They're not really collectors, but he has a passion for vintage cards. And actually he does a lot of videos where him and I believe it's somebody else on his channel, they expose fakes and counterfeits. So that's really cool. So the trade night hauls, it's probably something that you want to see here. I'll just probably show a picture of this to make it easier. Maybe some videos too of the cards in the moment. One of the first things that I did was came across a Devin Booker collector, which is really awesome because I had a green Prism PSA 10 that I was trying to get rid of. Picked it up when he was in the semifinals. It was part of a comprehensive hedge play, so I well knew I would probably lose money on that card, but I had a lot of positions at the time, and Giannis actually don't usually do this, and I wouldn't recommend it, but I took out a bet via the sports book, and I bet on the Bucks to win it all. I was able to get the Bucks at a pretty decent payout, and Devin Booker was the other side of that. Basically, I bought that green Prism after Giannis suffered the knee injury because I figured I had a window of time before the lines reopened in the morning where the Suns would be unanimous favorites to win it all. So that was during the semifinals. I kind of thought that they would get past the Clippers without much difficulty. They did. And I'm still sitting on this green Prism after they get bounced out of the finals. And I was happy to see some sort of a comp close to what I paid after they were eliminated. So after the finals were over, which is kind of weird because Booker was one of the guys that saw an increase throughout the playoffs. And you would have thought that the air would have come out of his tires after he got eliminated. But I think it was kind of slow moving, especially on that green Prism. One of the reasons why I definitely wanted to bring that card. So I was able to get $1,600 in cash. So I took a hit of about $200, which is great considering how much I made out on the sports bet on the Bucks. Not to mention some of the Giannis cards I picked up, which I'll probably show off soon on Instagram. I picked those up. Some before he won, and then I picked up another card after he won. I think the next day, and I still think that was pretty undervalued given where Giannis could go long term. Once his prices, I think, go back to equilibrium, I still think he's a little undervalued right now. So anyways, I met somebody from Facebook named Yehuda. It wasn't intentional, but I think he knew me maybe from my YouTube channel, and I recognized his name, and I actually probably would have been able to spell out his last name just because it's a name that kind of stands out, and he even called himself the only Yehuda in the hobby, and he had some baseball cards, and sometimes I kind of feel bad if I'm going through somebody's stuff and it's all baseball, because I know by my case and what I have or from my brand that I'm a baseball guy. So if I don't show interest in anything they have and they're all like high-end baseball and Bowman Chrome autos or mid-end baseball, then I kind of feel bad. So I was kind of happy. Plus, Yehuda seemed like a great guy. I was happy to see that blue refractor Bowman Chrome autograph. Now it's a min gem, and I try to avoid buying min gems, but if it's a blue refractor, that's one of the few times where I'll execute on a min gem. And that's something maybe for a future video, but a lot of people think that min gem is undervalued. I think some BGS grades are, but the min gem, I don't know. Maybe the gap between min gem and PSA 9 will shrink in time. It already has. Maybe that'll continue to shrink. Who knows? So yeah, I was able to pick that up. Jared Duran's been struggling, but the prices have come down since call up, I believe. And based on my multipliers, I was able to think that do it out. And based on the last base that sold, I think it was a decent deal. Was it a steal? No, but I think it was a slightly more than fair deal for the blue refractor, and paying all cash. I was able to get it done. Somebody came across the table with an Anderson Silva Topps Chrome Black Refractor, really rare. I thought it was a cool card. But like he was talking about how it's one of the top grades. It's like the only true Gem Plus. But if it's a card that's already numbered to 10, I'm not going to put a huge premium on whether it's a Pop 1 or Pop 2 or even the grade itself. I think that the difference between a PSA 9, BGS 9.5, and PSA 10, I think it kind of shrinks with a card that's already... I don't know if you want to call it intrinsically rare, just rare based on the print run and not the pop reports. It's just a rare card. So, and I don't know a whole lot about UFC. I think the guy wanted 4,000 and I wasn't even, no. I mean, that's how you make mistakes when you just jump into markets like that impulsively. So not saying UFC is a bad market, just saying I'm not educated on it. Somebody else came across the table with a really cool Emmitt Smith sketch, also signed by Emmitt Smith and signed by his son, I believe, as well. That was really cool. Then I did my first trade at the trade night. Sat down with a guy who was set up at the show, I think, or maybe it wasn't. Yeah, he had a vendor pass, which doesn't mean he was set up. Maybe he just got it from another vendor. But he was a breaker and he had some baseball stuff. So I sat down with him and asked him if there's anything that was interesting in my case. One of the cards he pulled out was the Vlad Guerrero Topps Chrome Sapphire PSA 10 rookie. Normally I wouldn't have brought that. I think Vlad is still a little bit undervalued compared to some of the other modern players. But Vlad, he pulls out the Vlad and... I was like, all right, let's, he's got a green Bowman Chrome Luciano. Not that I wanted to pick up a ton of Luciano there, and that was autographed, but it really stuck out to me, and I'm a sucker for the greens. I keep on going back to them, although I probably shouldn't. And he had told me that he had just cracked it out of a Beckett BGS 9.5 with 9 centering, but good subgrades. And he submitted it to PSA thinking that, they would overlook the centering and it would get a 10, but it came back a 9. Upon further review, the card does have an imperfect top left corner. And that's funny because the top left corner of the Vlad in the PSA 10 is what really bugged me about it and what made me want to sell that. So that was... As I said, I think it's a little undervalued, especially the Topps Chrome Sapphires across the board probably. But it kind of bugged me. PSA 10, PSA doesn't guarantee by any means that it's a perfect card. But for a PSA 10, for a 9, it doesn't bother me because you expect flaws. For a 10, there are some nice looking 10s, so I would rather have my money. And the more and more I'm at this and I'm doing this, even as an investor, the condition of the card beyond the grade and beyond the slab, it matters to me. So for specifics, I put a trade value of $21.50 on the Vlad Topps Chrome Sapphire, and that was an average of the last 2 comps. I think specifically it was like $21.70 at the time, and that was me looking at comps before the show. So maybe there was something that happened Thursday morning or Wednesday, I don't know. But and then he had $1,500 on the Luciano, which seemed to be fair. Certainly not low for that card, but seemed to be fair, especially since I was getting some cash back in the deal. I thought it was a fine trade, especially given that Vlad is one that I was going to sell either on my slabs or maybe on eBay, just because that top left corner really bothered me. So I was able to get back $650 in that deal. And it ended up being a really good trade for me because just 4 days later, which was yesterday, Monday night, I was able to repurchase another Topps Chrome Sapphire. Hopefully the corners are good. In the pictures, they look okay. From PC Sports Cards on eBay, I was able to get one for in the $1,650 range. I think my snipe was set at like high 1900s just because I wanted to buy that card back. So it ended up being a really good deal for me. And I won't submit that. I'm not going to crack that Luciano out, but it's cool that it has a 10 auto, which is something that you don't usually see on PSA slabs, especially ones that I own for the Bowman Chrome stuff. So on the way out, I picked up a Kobe Bryant rookie. I actually don't have any. I don't know if I've ever owned one. I've always liked the EX2000. It's one that's always kind of stood out to me. And this, even though it's a PSA 7, it's a really nice example, and the card is way down from highs. So PSA 9s at one point, I think, surpassed like 10 grand. Just because they're really rare and high grades versus like the Topps Chrome. I think at one point, technically, it surpassed the Topps Chrome and with the boom. The last two comps on this card in sevens were 350 and over 500, like 510 or 525. And I was able to get it for 350. Again, I think it's a very strong example of a seven. I think maybe this is one that if you crossed it over to SJC or Beckett, it could potentially get an 8.5 or 9. Not sure I'm going to do that though, because what if it doesn't, right? Burbank. So Burbank wasn't set up dealing wise at the National, but this guy had a Burbank shirt on, and I asked him if he worked for Burbank, and he said yes. So kind of cool to do a deal with them. That was all cash. So at about 9:30, I headed over to Embassy Suites, which is where baseball collector Mike Moynihan hosted a little get together, and this is where I saw. Right at the beginning, I saw Enough Said cards. He said he ran into the actor from, I don't know his name, but maybe I'll show a picture of him. The guy from Sandlot, I remember him from Big Green as well. The redhead guy with the big red hair, puffy hair, kind of chubby kid, and he still kind of looks the same, which is really funny. But I heard he was a really nice guy. Mike O was there. Picker Jim S, who's a watcher of content, a Boston guy, really good guy. Wesker Griff, Foo 31112, Scotty Tradition, Big Smooth, and many, many others. List goes on and on and on. Big Smooth actually picked up some really nice things that he handed to me, and I liked him so much that I left him there. And he had to go to my hotel room the next day to drop them off. But no, seriously, like really, really cool stuff that he was able to, me and some of the other members of the community, and pick out stuff that was kind of personalized to them. And I don't know, I guess I'm not that sentimental of a guy to be able to think of stuff like that, or maybe I'm just an asshole, I don't know. But at 10:30 at night, I headed back over to the Hyatt. So the first trade night was at the Hyatt. The second one was at the Hyatt, but the second floor, a different room. This is the Blake Jameson trade night that was hosted by a friend of mine, Beantown Hobby, who sets up at the Best Flippin' Card Show with me.
Oh, not if you're filming.
All right, act normal. Hey, Gutty Z, what's going on, bro? You want to make some moves?
Yeah, buy all the PSA 10 LeBrons.
That would have been hilarious. Invest in Tatis and Bobby Dahlbeck, obviously, yeah.
Walked over with Myco, Triple Crown 24, Cardi C in those back pages. And so this is supposed to be a second trade night. It was really fun. The artists, I heard, did very well. So the Project 70 and 2020 artists, some of them were there, like F. Dot, and many others. And they sold a lot of their limited prints. So they did really well. I was able to get a goodie bag there with a few free drink tickets, which was nice. Card Collector 2 showed up. Jeremy Lee from Sports Cards Live was there. Neo and Flipping Steve came by. Mr. Dub's a Boston guy who does a local show with me. He was there trying to pawn off his Kobe snakeskin pack. Nobody wanted to take it. I guess he was able to sell that though. I forget if it was to Mealy Pop or somebody else, but that's gonna have some footage. It's gonna be out there on social media. If it's not already, it will be out there in somebody's video. I didn't do much trading here, but it was kind of cool to chat with people. I think I realized right around midnight that I forgot to eat dinner. So that's how busy I was the entire day, that I forgot to eat dinner, and that the greasy chicken sandwich from Gibson's, I guess, held me over, that I had for lunch. Then comes Friday. Friday, I get to the show around 9:30. It was the first day of the 3 that I didn't bring my case of cards with me to trade. So again, the customers outnumbered the dealers by so much. Like the ratio was out of control. Maybe the highest that I've ever seen in a show that I've ever attended. So what that means is it's really difficult to get the dealers' undivided attention. When you're working with dealers and trying to trade stuff, especially if it's a big trade, usually there's only going to be one person at the table that represents that merchant that's going to be able to do the numbers with you. There's only one person that's going to act as that buyer, the top guy from that entity. So to get that person's attention, get their undivided attention, and trades take time, right? It's something that could take 10 to 20 minutes. The dealer's time's valuable. From a return on investment or return on time perspective, they're better off probably not engaging in long trade talks. And you're not going to know if it's going to be a long, deliberate process until it's over, or until it, whether it ends in a successful way, the trade being completed, or if it ends with the parties walking away. So I was kind of thinking like, plus I had a decent I had some decent luck at the trade night the day before. So I'm like, all right, I kind of did my selling. I did a little bit of the trading already. I got that out of my system. Got some more capital in my pocket. The trade night was a way for me to gain some net new money as opposed to leaving money. If you are to look at the entire national, I did, of course, spend more than I sold. So yeah, my back definitely thanked me, and I just came with a fanny pack, no backpack. So the first thing I did on Friday was I waited in the PSA pickup line. They stopped allowing submissions after Wednesday, but as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that I had my friend Amit wait in line for a few cars that I wanted reslabbed. And I was able to get these back from PSA, the big one being this Derek Jeter PSA 9 SP. Originally, it was one of the, still is, of course, because they keep the original cert number, one of the first 6 million or 6.5 million certs. So a lot could have happened since this card was encased, but fortunately for me, PSA decided there wasn't any damage done to the card through the history of when it's been encapsulated, because this is one where they like to keep the pop kind of low. So I thought there was an off chance, and you can't see the card as well through like an older slab. Plus, it was never in my possession. That's a longer story, but so I couldn't actually judge for myself. But there is a little bit of smudge on the card that now you can see a little bit more. The edge down here, and that smudge. Which is, again, on the card. I wasn't sure at the time it was on the card of the case, but that was those are probably the defects that took it down to a 9. Otherwise, edges, all the other edges and corners on this are pretty clean, and surface-wise, it pretty much checks out. So happy to get that back. And these cards, this Mahomes, PWCC, I mean, they take some like really nice images of cards when they scan them and put them up on eBay, but they only take them at one angle, and sometimes it's difficult to see if the case is damaged. And this has happened numerous times, whether it's like the plastic being broken or like some weird like fog and residue that's trapped somewhere in the holder. So this is one I definitely had to get redone. $100 a piece, but it makes it a little bit softer of a blow, knowing that Jeter probably increases in value at least 1,000 by being in the new holder. And this is Lamar Jackson's one of the quarterbacks I was stocking up on in the off season. That's the field level silver. And that's one that I picked up from PC Sports Cards. And when I opened the package, like, they do a great job, protecting the card. They use some shipping tape to adhere the bubble wrap around the card. And I sliced right through it with my utility knife. And I was lucky because it was one of those times where you don't know like how the blade's going to hit it. And I put, I didn't use like incredible force to do it, but I almost like went through the entire slab and like jacked up the card by doing that. Like, pretty sure I cut like more than halfway through the slab. So I'm just fortunate not to damage the card, which again, PSA decided that I did not, which is awesome. After that, so I ran into Alico 3 on the show floor, and I was looking out for myself for Jerry Rice PSA 9 rookies from 86 Tops. And I was looking for them priced right, and he did find some that were priced right, but I wasn't able to locate them, and I got distracted, so I wasn't able to close on any Rice rookies. Then I met up for lunch with Pepino Man, Cardi C, Amit, Mr. Dub, and Big Smooth. We went to the Park Tavern together. The waitress was pretty cool there. I was able to get a pretty cool sandwich. Was it Nashville chicken with an IPA that the waitress had recommended, and some macaroni and cheese, which is pretty good on the side. I went back to the show. I actually spent a decent amount of time with Silver Jackovi and Parlay J. Yo, what's going on?
What's up?
Yo.
What's up?
Parlay J.
Here with you today.
We got Silver Jackovi.
I just realized my hat was like not perfect.
This guy's trying to pick up some vintage card, right?
Trying. I'm failing.
We
miserably.
almost found 52 Tops Maze, but there was a big crease through it, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Jay's looking to trade a major asset that he picked up from a repack product.
If anybody wants this, you can't have it. It's too good. Abraham Toro auto first.
Recently got traded, right?
Recently got traded, even more valuable now.
In the news. Now's the time to strike.
He's gonna do a photo op with Ric Flair tomorrow.
Woo!
I ended up doing a bulk deal with Parlay J, and it's always nice to support small businesses from the wax buying perspective because you've got DA Cardworld there and Steel City and Blowout, so I try to avoid them if possible. And there was a smaller business that was selling wax, and all at pretty good prices, and I told him, I'm like, hey, this is a good deal. And he's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll buy that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pick up this, you buy that, and then maybe, because your thing's more expensive, $30 off your transaction, $20 off mine, call it a deal. So I was able to pick up this tin of 2015-16 Upper Deck Series 1. And I feel like a lot of people were probably at the show to find a McDavid Young Gun rookie in a PSA 10. But a lot of those people who probably don't solely collect hockey, some might not really collect hockey at all, they're just targeting that card. Kind of like me, most of those people won't understand the product, the set from which to pull a McDavid Young Gun rookie. Now, I don't know if the tin gives you the best odds. All I know is those sell on eBay for about $300. Granted, a lot of those are bins, a lot of the more recent ones, and I got that for $230. So I didn't have a whole lot of space for wax. Those of you that follow my channel a lot understand that I do buy a lot of wax. I do invest in a lot of wax. Fortunately for me, leaving on Saturday, or maybe unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to experience the best wax prices. Usually at shows as large as this, where people are traveling from far away, they don't want to carry they haul a whole lot of stuff back with them, so they'll slash the prices, and in some cases each day a little bit. So by the time Saturday and Sunday rolls around, that's when you see the best prices. So I didn't have a whole lot of space for wax, so I was hoping really not to run into too many deals that would trap me into, okay, well, now I need to buy these, and now I need to FedEx these back. Now I need to find out where the FedExes are and make sure that, I can actually get this back before I leave, or check a bag, but then I'd have to buy a bag and pay for the check fee, and that's a lot of money, and understand how margins would work there and stuff. So yeah, I didn't expect to find a whole lot of good deals on wax, except for the newer years worth of stuff, where the stuff's really been printed a lot. But then I probably wouldn't have been targeting that much of that stuff anyways. Then I ran into Steve from SMR Collectibles. Quirky dude, but it was cool to run into him. And he came to my event later that night, which was awesome. My friend Amit introduced me to Anthony, who's one of the biggest Ovechkin super collectors in the world. Anthony is a really nice guy based in Canada, and he's on Instagram. I believe it's Ovechkin the 8 or something. And he was sharing a lot of crazy stories about some trades that went on that he was a part of. Now, Dabs Sports was there, grifting people with his crew. On the way out, I ran into Sports Card Investor, not didn't get a chance to talk to him one-on-one, but I saw Sports Card Investor and his entourage of people, including, the Kelly.
Cool.
And Teapot. I was able to have a nice conversation with Teapot, who is doing a pretty good job kind of doing a breakaway channel from sports card investors. He's focusing a lot on the trends, the daily movements of prices of cards. Real nice guy. And then throughout the course of the entire show, this wasn't just Friday, but I ran into a few different supporters of my channel and the Rookie Card Explosion Box. Brett Atherton, I think that might have been on Wednesday. Ran into him on the show floor. Really cool guy. Greg Keys, Ken's Cardboard, who's a supporter of the channel. I ran into him at, I believe, the Friday event, and many others that I ran into that were just supporters of the channel that I hadn't met before, in some cases with their children or with their kid. So thanks, guys, for approaching me. It definitely means a lot to have people that support the channel introduce yourself to me. And even if the chat was brief, it was really nice to meet you. So thanks for approaching me if you did. And then on Friday, grabbed a really light dinner at Lowe's with Pepino Man and Big Smooth. Pepino Man, I mentioned the gifts that Big Smooth gave me that were very thoughtful. He actually picked up a World Series ring for Pepino Man. So Pepino Man, for those of you that don't know, he's an employee of the Dodgers, and he thought he was going to be getting a World Series ring with the victory in 2020, but he did not get one or the chance to even buy one, or maybe he had a chance to buy one, but it certainly wasn't free. So Big Smooth picked up a ring size 12 that actually fit Pepino's finger just magically. So here I'll show some footage of the ring, and try to focus on the ring because your eyes might be drawn to his very long fingernails. I guess for some reason, he didn't have a whole lot of time Wednesday to clean himself and chop up his fingernails a bit. Probably need more than a nail file for those. The 8 p.m. meetup at Lowe's, hosted by Pepino Man, myself, Eli the Goat, basically for YouTube viewers and creators. It ended up being mostly content creators that showed up. And while this was happening, while this was starting, the lobby of the hotel and the main floor hallways were absolutely jam-packed with people. And this was at Lowe's. And because the formal trade night that happened the day before, it wasn't enough to like satiate everybody's trading needs. So why not set up like an impromptu pop-up trade night at one of the hotels? And Lowe's has a lot of space in their lobby. One of the reasons why I liked it for our little get-together. So I mean, they completely took over. I think Ryan's Cards LLC had something to do with this as well, but I don't know how much organization was put into it. But the people found out about it. They came, and some people have estimated like 400 people. I think it was in the thousands. I really do. Maybe some fire hazards. Hopefully the hotel made some money off of it. I don't think they were buying too many drinks. There was one bartender, by the way, that was serving our group of 50 plus the mayhem in the hallways. So and it's too bad to get into politics. I don't really think this is politics, but because there is some labor shortage and maybe disincentive for people to get back to work, I'm pretty sure the hotel knew that it was going to be a big night, especially after the last couple. And it's too bad that they couldn't staff the bar with more than one bartender. And the guy was completely overwhelmed. I think I realized the next day, I'm like, wait, dinner plus like 15 drinks. I was buying drinks and handing them out to people when I could. It should have been well over like a $70 total tab. So I think you might have missed a few. Either that or maybe charged me twice. I just haven't seen the second charge yet, or I haven't looked to see if that's hit my statement yet. But yeah, so a lot of the guys from YouTube, the same ones that I'd seen, like Alico 3, Baseball Collector, Silver Jack 5, Mike O, those back pages, along with like Blue Jacket 66, B-Roth 6, were at this get together at Lowe's. Some of the OG guys, like Brad, who I had met for the first time, he was a big Miami, I think, Dolphins collector. Dustin and Blake, father-son duo, Dave's Midlife Card Crisis, Big Scott. Those guys were there too. And some of the newer guys with the big channels like Personal Finance Dad, Flipping Steve, Neo, they showed up with their wives. And Steve from SMR Collectibles, Jeremy Lee was there. Mike Geo, who's a lot of you guys probably know who he is. He's the host of the top sports card related podcast on Spotify. He's part of The Ringer with Bill Simmons. And it was nice to be able to have a chat with him. He actually grew up in a neighboring town to me. Real funny guy, really witty, kind of reminds me of Mark Wahlberg a little bit. I don't know if that's something that he intends to do as part of his shtick, but it's working. And Rick from Vintage Oddball Cards was there, who told me that he was supplying something as part of that we could give away as part of some sort of giveaway to all the YouTube creators and watchers. And it was actually a Joe Montana signed jersey, Notre Dame jersey, that he had provided. So incredible. Like, Rick, thank you so much. Vintage Oddball Cards is his channel. Check him out. There's a lot of vintage stuff. So that was actually won by Four Leaf, which is he's a serial commenter and watcher of content, and really nice guy. And he was so happy, so ecstatic, almost like a little kid with a smile on his face, although he's not a little kid. I gave away, I think, like 7 T-shirts with the new Filmington branding. Not V-neck this time, like this. So this is the older design with like a stock image from Custom Ink's website. But this has got the new shirt's got the real logo on it. And I think most people would probably prefer the crew neck style versus the V-neck. I mean, V-neck doesn't accentuate some of these people's features and attributes the best, I feel. So maybe they like the crew neck better. I know Pepino Man probably fits into that category, especially after the 20 pounds he's gained in the last year. Pepino Man. Santiago Sports was in the hallway. So After the YouTube meetup dissolved, I think the bar closed around 12 p.m. They shut their doors. Wesker Griff tried to give me a heart attack by taking my backpack away, and I'm like freaking out, like, where's my backpack? Like, there's no cards in it, like, or else I'd really have a panic attack. But he was just making sure that it wouldn't get locked in there. So I was able to get my backpack back, and I did a few laps around the lobby and common area and hallway to see what people had. Wow. I wish I had more time to kind of wheel and deal. I wish I had brought my cards for this. I did not expect a pop-up card show as packed and as loud and as busy as with like such an incredible vibe as what was there. Santiago Sports was there, and this is a guy that big on Instagram. Now he's pretty big on YouTube. He's got his own hobby shop in New Jersey. He does a lot of vlogging now, a lot of like consistent content. And I was able to walk into him and kind of mutter in his ear, Santiago Sports to the fucking moon. And I got him to laugh a little bit. I actually did a trade with him a couple years ago. And at the Shriner show, by the way, that's one of the biggest shows in New England. He's going to be set up there again. They do it twice a year. The next one's going to be in late August, the last weekend in August. And it's done by Rich Altman. So if you want more information, just Google like Rich Altman Boston show, even though it's in Wilmington, my hometown. So Santiago Sports, we did a trade. We were able to, it was like, 30 minutes long, back and forth a little bit. He was able to pick up a few big cards for me. And at the time, he told me it was on Instagram. I told him on YouTube. He's like, YouTube, like that's Instagram's where it's at. And I'm like, oh, people do cards on Instagram? He's like, yeah. And now, look at him now. Now he's one of the biggest creators on Instagram, contributors, whatever you call them, celebrities, influencers. He's big. He's pretty big. So it's funny him telling me about Instagram and seeing where he's at now. And I'm on Instagram, kind of a small fish, but I'm trying to catch him. We'll see. But it won't happen because they're taking off there at us. They're going to the fucking moon at Santiago Sports. All right. So that was pretty much it for Friday in the show. And I went home in the late morning on Saturday. I was able to pick a flight, not requiring me to get up super early, which was nice. So I was able to sleep a little bit longer. Although for some reason, the whole time, I just didn't sleep that well. And kind of killed me for the weekend because the next day was, not the next day, but the next day after I got home, it was a full day beach day with my mom, who's got like this whole full slate of activities for us. So really not much time to rest, but I think at this point I'm fully rested. So conclusion. So some of the key takeaways from the National, I want to kind of put that in a separate video. So I'll try to cover that later this week. How the show differed from 2019 and other shows I've been to, and maybe what that means for the hobby. As you can tell from my recap, most of the show was more about me socializing than actually buying, wheeling and dealing. Clearly, with the little amount of content that I've actually been able to muster from the show, it really wasn't about vlogging either. It was about establishing relationships with new people, reconnecting with people that I've known, socializing with people that I've known. And it was more about that than actually wheeling and dealing. Not really 100% what my intent was, just what kind of transpired. So I probably could have been okay with more than 2.5 days of the show. Maybe if I stretched it out to another day, that would have been a better plan for me to get like full coverage of the show floor, maybe execute and a few more things. Needless to say, I had an amazing time. It was awesome. No regrets. Thanks for watching, guys. And like, comment, subscribe. Take care. Filmington out.